Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Growth Capital Podcast. I am your host, Justin Dixon, and today we've got Jeff Torello on the podcast. He is the founder and CTO of Sinjun AI. It is an AI company, effectively an AI consulting company that helps small to mid-sized businesses really identify what type of AI they may need to bring into their organization. He also is a custom dev shop where he'll help them build different AI and automation solutions. So fair warning, we get pretty deep into AI, where we are in the AI hype cycle, what his envisions the future with AI. And we also talk a little bit about what you may want to be talking to the younger generation about how to prepare for an AI driven future. So super interesting episode. So let's get Jeff on the pod. Interested in hearing conversations with private equity leaders, CEOs of private equity-backed companies, and startup entrepreneurs where they share their stories about their career journeys, starting, investing in, and scaling successful businesses, and the important role that having the right talent plays in building a successful business, then you are in the right place. Welcome back to another episode of the Growth Capital Podcast. Here's your host, Justin Dixon. All right, Jeff, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being on.
It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, no, I'm excited because you got to interview me a few weeks ago. So now I'm putting you to the test here. So why don't you give everybody a little bit of an overview of who you are, where you are, and what you're up to right now.
Yeah, happy to. Thanks. Little role reversal would be fun for me because I've been interviewing folks for a long time. My name's Jeff Torello. I'm the founder and CTO for Sinjun AI. I've been working in the tech industry for 30 plus years. I spent 20 years working for Intel Corporation, mostly in technical or leadership roles. And then I spent quite a number of years working for different startups, defense contractors, and other things. And I started Sinjun a few years ago, right after, I'd say 22, and really been trying to help people figure out how to use AI, help companies figure out how to adopt AI, writing custom AI solutions for people, and just trying to be a helpful resource where I can.
Got it. Well, this is going to be a very heavy AI podcast. Anybody that's listening, feel free to drop now if you have no interest in AI.
Right. If you're not into AI, this is not going to be fun.
Yeah, this is not going to be for you. So I guess let's start with, I always like to know somebody's journey to being a founder, right? Because not everybody likes, wants, or is interested in being their own boss, starting a business, et cetera, et cetera. So how did the process work to go from, working for W-2 companies to then starting Sinjun?
Yeah, it's actually a really great question. I didn't intend to start my own company when I did. Okay. The first part of where I got to was I during the pandemic, I decided I needed to write a book. Okay. Very specifically, I had some pretty strong opinions on remote leadership and the fact that at a high level, I don't think remote leadership is fundamentally different than leadership in person, simply because a good leader in person is somebody who takes care of the people and cares about their employees and doesn't, treat them like a number, no micromanaging, those sorts of things. It's the same thing for a remote manager. If you take care of folks and you solve problems and you give them opportunities to interact, they will do the right things because fundamentally people who are employed want to be. And right. So if you don't give them reason to find ways to do other things, if you don't make the environment shitty, if you will, then people tend to respond. And so I wanted to get that out. And so I wrote the book relatively quickly in like 6 or 7 weeks. It's not a very long book. And then I had to go figure out, sorry?
What's the name of it?
It's a crash course. Basically, it's all about remote leadership, and it's teach yourself remote leadership in 100 days or less.
Okay.
And in 100 pages or less. It's a relatively small book. When I went to go publish that, I was going to use Amazon and just KDP, which is what I ended up doing. But I realized, I kind of have to have a publishing so I made an LLC.
Okay.
And then, I published the book, but I wasn't adept at marketing, and I'm still not adept at marketing. And so I didn't go crazy trying to promote the book, but, I sold probably in the first year like 60 or 70 copies. And I didn't do much with it. And then a couple years passed, and then I was like, I see these folks in a couple different interactions socially and networking locally, et cetera. And I can solve some of the problems that they have, but my current job, I can't do anything about it. I'm, full-time as a CTO, et cetera.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe I should try this angle of trying to be a consultant and help folks out. I already have an LLC. Half the problem solved.
Right.
Let me see what happens. And so I sort of stumbled into it. And the first customer or two were really just word of mouth sort of references from friends. And in one case, it was just simple consulting, as they didn't have a technical skill and needed some, a couple months worth of here's how to directionally set the company technology wise. And the other one was a custom application that we whipped out in probably 6 weeks or so. And from there, just been continuing to do word of mouth and, finding customers where I can.
And how big is the company now? So is it you're the founder and CTO? Do you have employees? Do you use more remote technical folks all over the world? How does it work?
It's yes, everything you just said. So I have, I know that sounds weird. I have 9 employees in the U.S., and most of them W-2. Some of them are just contractors because they want to be or because they have their own LLCs.
Right.
And then I have an offshore team that is in Pakistan, India, and Ukraine, and a variety of different skills. There is about another 14 or 15 people there.
Got it. And so I think there's a couple things that you mentioned about kind of how the company supports its clients that I find fascinating. And actually one of them is kind of something that I've thought about a little bit is, so when you work with clients, some of it's really just kind of helping them as a fractional or outsourced technical leader. But I really want to narrow down into the AI component of it, because I was talking to a private equity friend of mine, and we were talking about AI, and I was asking him, what are they doing about AI? How are they implementing it into their portfolio of companies, et cetera, et cetera. And he kind of shared that when everybody was talking about AI, a year ago, or pretty much over the last 2 years, right? Because everybody got access to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Everybody was running as fast as they could to do something related to AI, whether it is they was using it for themselves, they were trying to plug it into their product, even if it didn't make sense, just so that they could have AI as part of their solution. And they identified over kind of talking to, looking at data and talking to people, that adoption of the AI components or AI tools that they implemented was super low. So they made all this investment, they ran in, and they threw a bunch of money at it. Maybe they didn't set it up properly or talk about it properly. So adoption for that round one of AI was super low. And so now they're like, well, we can't not continue to work with AI. So it's okay, but they're being very reluctant to kind of go after 2.0. Because they're well, we don't want to invest another $1 million, $2 million, whatever it is. They're not sure how to implement it correctly. And so I thought about this idea. This is a very long question of around how valuable is it, especially for small to mid-sized businesses that don't have a huge budget and they don't have a ton of time, to be that provider of, hey, let me learn about your business. And then I'm going to go out and figure out which AI tool, because I'm a technology person and I've researched a lot of AI. I'm going to go out and find the best 1, 2, 3 tools that you can use internally at your company and maybe even in their product, and then kind of consult with them to say, hey, here's what I've identified, and then plugging it into their platform. Again, long-winded question around, is that something that you A, see value in, or B, or is that kind of what you're offering to some of your clients?
It's exactly what I'm offering when that's the right fit for the client and when that's what the customer wants. In this particular context, I focus exclusively on small to medium business because I think enterprise is covered. I think there's a lot of entities that want to take all the money from enterprise and want those big bills. And, I'm not a 2-person company, but I'm still a small company comparatively. And I worked for an enterprise for 20 years. I've watched Intel eat up small entities who just couldn't handle, the requirements and the pummeling that happens.
Yeah.
I want to work with small to medium businesses. I want to help in a couple different ways I should talked about. So we do fractional advice consulting, whatever you want to call that, where we're not actually, in this case, maybe we don't implement anything. What we come in and we talk about, here's what I'd recommend. Here's a good strategy. Here's why you want to go this direction. Here's the pitfalls that you would take if you go this direction. And some cases, here's a vendor or tools that you probably will be successful with. Here's a vendor or tools you probably want to stay away from. One's cost-based, one's this, whatever. We do all of that. And we've been playing in this space long enough that we have a decent amount of knowledge. I don't know everything. No one knows everything. Yeah. But, I can evaluate a tool relatively quickly if someone shows it to me and says, is this the right thing? And very quickly say, well, let's check your requirements and see, that kind of conversation. That's certainly a facet of what we do, and there's plenty of customers who get value out of that. We do some of that on retainer. We do some of that as a project basis. We do some of it as just a point solution, whatever, doesn't matter. What I want to comment on is the idea that there's this rush in the last couple of years to accelerate and deploy, and then this sort of, hey, these things aren't working, or we're not getting value out of it. I just want to call your listeners back to the Gartner hype cycle. If they're not familiar with it, go find it. It's easy. It's all over the internet. There'll be pictures of it. What you find with, and this is not new, this has been around for decades, and this is all related to any new technology innovation. Cell phones, the internet, whatever. There's a huge spike in the beginning of a technology innovation that is known as the peak of inflated expectations, where this technology is going to solve world hunger and do all these other things. Okay, great. Which is followed immediately by the trough of disillusionment. Right. And what that really means is, hey, at the peak, everyone was deploying AI. And at the trough, everyone went, this doesn't work. But what happens is that peak to trough is followed by a slow, steady climb to what's known as the plateau of productivity. What I mean by that is simply this. Once the initial innovation comes out and everyone thinks, oh, I can take advantage of this, I can do this with it, that with it, it may not be good for those things. It may be good for a lot of things, but they may be, that's what the trough's all about. Yeah. We realize, oh, this doesn't fit here. This fits here. Wait, now that it fits here, I can put this on top of it. And now that I stack it, I get this amazing capability I didn't have just before. We're not there yet. Right now, we're still in that trough. And that's what everybody's seeing with all these collapsing programs. And the MIT report recently that said, most people don't get value out of AI. No kidding, because we're in the trough. I expect that to be the case. I'm not remotely surprised. I'm not concerned. But the other side of that equation is you don't have to do $1 million deployment to find value from AI, because there are real world value for AI, and most businesses can take advantage of it in a couple different ways, and it depends on the business. It depends on the goals. So your comment, what we do is really our first order of business is really like a discovery meeting, and we talk about what are the problems and what do you want to solve. I mean, sometimes you don't want to solve all the problems. Sometimes they're not the right answers, right? What problem do you want to solve? What 3 things would you love to do? What would make you better, faster, stronger, whatever the answers are? Okay, great. Let's go see whether there's things we can do there. Sometimes those things are just buy this tool for $10 a user a month or whatever, and here's what you'll get. And here's a demo, and I have nothing to do with it. I'm pointing and off you go. Sometimes we can, revise or update or give you software, whatever. And the last comment I'll give you to close that thought out is, from an AI guy, artificial intelligence is simply a very convoluted way to spell software. We're not talking about anything more than software. So it does some things, doesn't do everything. It has bugs. And it will grow and change and get better, et cetera. And so I just want people to recognize AI is cool and it does neat stuff, but it's just software.
Yeah. I had a AI company, I should use air quotes, AI company reach out to me, and I did a demo and they walked me through kind of what their product did. And I was like, isn't this just automation? Like, if this happens, and this happens. And they had a workflow of exactly kind of that, but it was an AI. And he's like, well, we use AI as a general term. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just call a spade here. Like, this is just an automation process. So I guess I'm curious, because you've obviously been doing this a little bit. You've obviously researched a lot. What are some of and because you work with small to mid-sized businesses, which are vastly the majority of my clients, what are some of the things that you're seeing real return on investment for?
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
what, maybe, I don't know if you want to offer the specific tool, but, or maybe the use case that they're trying to solve. And you're like, oh, wow, this actually does allow them to cut costs, whether that's headcount or whatever. Like what does that look like?
Yeah. So where I actually see automation making value for folks is, and for most people, is in content generation. So think of it this way. Any business that actually needs to communicate with their clients or attract new business, which seems to be everybody, but okay, maybe somebody doesn't, is got to do some level of content generation and put stuff on social media and be out in the world and engage. You can't get through the noise any other way. I would submit that while you can send thousands of cold emails, we know for a fact less than 1% of them even get touched.
Yeah.
And I know email's cheap, but it also sours the brand from my point of view. Like, you pummel someone with a message over and over and over again, very quickly they're like, I don't want to talk to them. So I think there's a conversation to be had about, does that direct outreach actually work? What I'm getting to is, but spending time to create content takes effort and sometimes takes a lot of resource. And it's really, there's a table stakes component here. I've got to be out in the market. I've got to be posting on LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok or whatever the vector is. And that's not you don't just make a TikTok post just because you woke up that morning. You generally have to plan it. What's our messaging going to be? Are we making a video? Like all these things. Okay. This is where the AI-based automation for me ends up having a lot of value, because you can prompt your way into creating content, and you can actually build an automation workflow that uses regular automation plus AI where it's relevant to, look, as an example of a relatively complicated workflow, you can have a Google Sheet with a list of topics that you think are relevant to your business. Let's just pick 10 topics. And you can have a workflow from N8N or Mind Studio or Make or Zapier. Any one of those will do this. We'll use N8N in this conversation for the sake of discussion. You can have it wake up every morning at 6 a.m., go look at your list, and then go research with an AI-based search tool for articles or topics that were posted in the last 23 hours, so you don't overlap day to day, on any of those topics, and then do a little bit of back-end checking on those particular resources. Like, is this one I want to post?
Okay.
Use the AI to summarize what that article was. And now you've got a post summarizing this cool article on this particular topic with a URL linking to the topic that you can post automatically on 5 socials. And you can do that at 7 a.m. every morning or 9 a.m. or 2 p.m. or whatever that. And that is not easily done with other tools, because you're getting the searching, the topic related results, and then the summarization. Those are all what the LLM is exceptional at.
Yep.
And the next piece of this that I think gets super valuable and where we're seeing a lot of action is, and this is glommed into a bucket that most people don't understand called agentic flow. But we'll define it this way. Agentic AI is any sort of process, automated or not, where the AI is making decisions for you based on instruction or prompting.
Okay.
So it's not just you automated something. You're asking the AI to do something. And where this really becomes powerful is to get everybody on the same wavelength, right? Everything we're talking about uses an LLM, a large language model. And the really key important part of that is the middle word, language. And the reason why you can have a conversation with ChatGPT and it can respond to you is because it's exceptional at processing language. When it can process language, it can follow instructions. So once we have the large language model as base technology, and we add to that something called Model Context Protocol, or MCP servers, which add tools that the models don't know about themselves, haven't been trained with, but now can use because the tool provides an owner's manual And the language model can read the instructions to know how to use the tool. So the tool might be, here's how to search the internet. The tool might be, here's how to add numbers. The tool might be, here's how to perform a financial analysis and get to a profit and loss statement. Doesn't matter. But the language model can say, oh, I know about this tool if the MCP server has been made available, and I know how to use it. Let me give it the data it's asking for. Let me take back its result, and let me send that to the user. Let me do something with the next tool and chain things together. This is where you're getting a tremendous amount of value, because now instead of it just being a thing you prompt and it spits back, you can now prompt it and say, go use these tools, go perform this action. Okay, so let's make this real. What does that look like if you're going to build an automation agentically? You can say, hey, AI, go in my email and find the message from Justin that was talking about the quarterly sales report. Follow that link, open up that sales report, and summarize sales for these 3 products for me. Make a chart, turn it into a PDF, and email it to me.
Got it. And so you would need the tool to be able to read my email and open an email and read it, whatever format it's in, whether probably Excel or something. And got it. Okay, so you would have to have a couple of things set up.
Right.
Now, that to me as a non-technical person sounds really complicated, hard,
right.
Something that I am not qualified to set up, and if I did set it up, it probably wouldn't work. So is that like, I mean, because I think about some of the clients that I have, like, some of the clients that I have are probably not some of them are way more technical than I am. Others are probably at my level. So
right.
how do you make that
how do you make that real for an entrepreneur?
Yeah, for an entrepreneur, for somebody that's a solopreneur, all the way up to
right.
Maybe 100-person company, because they don't have the time to research, figure it out. How do I do it? And all, because that's where I'm coming from when I ask that question about AI consulting. Essentially, is like, this could be $1 billion industry, because there's so many companies that know they need to use AI, probably are afraid of it. Because maybe they don't understand it or whatever, or they've tried it and it didn't work. And so now it's like, oh, this Jeff guy's coming at me and saying, hey, I've got the solution for you. And it's like, is he a snake oil salesman? Right. So
yeah.
How do you kind of get over that?
So there's a couple choices. For example, most of the platforms I named, N8N and Make, et cetera, they're what's known as a low code, no code platform. So the intention is you can go in as a non-technical user, and basically you're dragging and dropping elements to connect them, like you're connecting wires between nodes. And each node you can set some parameters on, or you can write the prompt that the LLM follows, or different things like that. You can have a node that says, read a Google Sheet. You can have a node that says, search the internet with this internet searching tool, or AI searching tool, EXA, et cetera. And so you're not writing code. You're, hey, I'm going to have this get triggered with a timer. So you drop a timer on, you set it for 6 a.m. And at 6 a.m., what do you want to do? Okay, then I want you to get the Google Sheet node, and here's my Google Sheet. Here's the URL. I shared it. Boom. Open it up. And then I want you to read it. It's already a thing. You don't have to type any code there. And then take the results and then use EXA and go search for articles. And that you're just chaining it together. Now, okay, what I just described sounds very simple. It's not. There's work in there. But what I'm saying to you is, anyone who thinks, hey, how do I determine this is snake oil or not, can go play for free with N8N and at least see, oh, okay, there's substance here. There's, like, if you went and goofed around for a week and got it partially working, you would say, oh, okay, this will work. I don't know how to get the rest of the pieces. Like, I'm missing, right? But, like, these are real Legos, okay?
Yeah, right.
So then, okay, call me. And you're like, look, I play with this. I know this isn't, 6 months worth of work. So what's it going to cost to get X? And the other thing is, we're very cool with doing POCs for folks. So we'll do a crawl, walk, run strategy. So, okay, here's your final objective is X. Let's back up. What would show you that you're in the right ballpark, that this is moving in the direction you want? Let's find a cheapo thing we can do. We don't charge a ton of money for the POC. Here you go. We'll bang something out. Play with it for a week. Does it look like it's going to go the way you want? Are you seeing some value?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to keep going? We'll keep going. Let's figure out what your long-term goals are. This doesn't work, but you see that there was work done and you want to try and find a different way. Okay, we'll revise. But I honestly think there's a lot. Have you heard of vibe coding yet?
Yeah. What's it? Lovable is one of them. I also heard of vibe hacking.
Yeah.
Who did that? Well, I saw an article of it yesterday. I think it was.
There's actually companies now branding products with vibe in front of it.
Yeah.
Right. For the audience, it may not necessarily directly know. The idea is that you prompt the system to go do this super complicated task. It does the super complicated task, but you have no idea if it did it right or wrong. And there's no security, there's no quality control, nothing. And sort of like, maybe it'll work. Good luck.
Yeah.
But there is a real good value for vibing, and this is where I wanted to get you to with the answer to your question, right? Anybody listening right now can go find a YouTube video on like an introduction to pick N8N and follow that along with a free account at N8N and vibe code your way into making a simple thing. Whatever that video is about, it doesn't matter if you need it or not.
Right.
The point is to use the tool and go, oh, I see the tool works, right? The other thing that I'll say is I actually think it's valuable for my clients to go play around with this stuff and even make the first version.
Yeah.
And the reason I'll tell you that is because in my experience for 30 years with software, requirements gathering is the most important part of a solution, right? So if I tell Justin, go play with N8N and build the first version of what you want, you'll come to me and go, these are all the things that are missing. Mm-hmm. Because by playing with it, you'll be like, oh, I want it to do that. I don't want it to do this. I want this. I want that. I want that. And now I've got a built-in amazing requirements doc, and I can produce that fast, right?
Yeah, it's fascinating because when I was at Comcast, I hired that part of my like recruiting was hiring people that were literally just requirements gatherers. Like that was their job.
Right.
Was just like, hey, you've got to go talk to the business, take their requirements, and go translate that to the technical team so they can go build whatever the business wants, and then vice versa. So yeah. Totally makes sense. So let's kind of pull out a little bit here, a little high level. So ChatGPT 4 came out 2 years ago. I think something like that, and was way better than ChatGPT 3.
Yes.
Then ChatGPT 5 was supposed to be way better than ChatGPT 4. It was supposed to come out a long time ago, and it didn't. It just came out recently, and it's not as exponentially better than it was supposed to be. And so people are like, well, we were sold all this stuff. I listened to Cal Newport's podcast, Deep Questions, the other day, and I think the title was something like, "What happens if AI, if this is as smart as AI gets," or something like that. So I want to kind of get your perspective on because I don't remember the term of like the exponential growth that it's on. It was supposed to be on this upward hockey stick as far as LLMs go, but it kind of hit this ceiling with GPT-4 and didn't get better with GPT-5 and all this fun stuff. So again, you can obviously tell that I'm not a super technical person. So I guess what is your view of where an LLM like ChatGPT or any of the other ones that are built out there, do you see them getting any better than where they are now in the near term? And are we now shifting into this more hyper specific agent style use cases versus everybody's using an LLM? Now you've got these agents that are like a recruiting agent, a sales agent, all these things that are just doing very specific but very good, very targeted tasks.
Yeah, and the thing under the hood, just so we're clear, right? An agent is really just good control over prompting the LLM most of the time. So even though you got like a recruiter LLM, the recruiter LLM has been through a lot of iterations programmed that this is the way to respond. This is the way to ask the LLM to do X, to do Y. And then there's additional code added on top. Not all agents are just prompters, but the point is the underlying technology is the LLM itself. But two comments I'll make. The first comment is, it's hard to frame this, so this is going to sound like I'm talking about history, but what I'm trying to talk about is the overall way technology development tends to work. 1983, Motorola invents the cellular phone. Now, the rate of pace of change in our society is constantly increasing, and it's exponential. The rate of pace of change. So from 83 to 2006, Cell phones are cell phones, and they don't really do much else. 2007, Steve and his Wonder Kids decide on making the iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing they really did was make an app store.
Right.
And turned a phone into a computer. And from 2007 to today, we get to the point where most people can't live without their actual device in their hand.
Right.
Okay. What I want to talk about is that even though that adoption curve was delayed, I think that adoption curve is the part that's important to the conversation.
Okay.
So the innovation was the cellular phone. Internet activity, all that kind of stuff. Then dropping the app store on top. And what I'm looking at and talking about is, again, back to this stacking conversation. The innovation's the LLM. And we are not at the point where the app store has existed yet.
Mm.
The thing that will make the LLM's innovation become the unbelievable powerhouse that we expect to really change things. Two vectors for that. One is the LLMs get better, but I also will say that there's a bit of a finite curve in this context, the LLM part, the large language model part, because language isn't changing that much. Can it get better at understanding what you want? Sure. Can it get better at predicting the next word if you don't know how the neural network works at a very high level? It's all about probability and statistics, and I've seen the words of the question before, and the answer before has included these words. So let me start with those words and try to make sentences. It's way more complicated than that. I'm very much dumbing it down. But the idea is it's just a parrot. Okay? Cool. Is that going to get better? Like, what better do you want there? It understands your language and it responds. Okay, sometimes it responds with bad data, but that's training related. That's not the functionality. In order for the LLM to get better, what actually has to happen is the LLM needs to get to the point where the overall technology becomes artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Mm. When AGI exists, AGI will write the next breakthrough. And none of us will know what that is because we're not the AGI. When the artificial general
AGI comes in.
Yeah, that's the key question, right? And there's a tremendous amount of billions, hundreds of billions being bet on that, whether it's Anthropic or OpenAI or Google or what have you. They're all desperately trying to build one. And the holy grail thought process there on that track is we build the AGI, we assume benevolence here. We build the AGI. The AGI then writes the next LLM. Or whatever that is. And it just starts writing its own code, making itself better, and it doesn't do the feeble human thing. It does the way better, smarter thing, we presume. And suddenly we've got this amazing breakthrough where, we don't all need to work anymore because there's no such thing as money. Whatever. Utopia. Okay, great. That's one vector. I don't actually know that utopia is the only answer, but that one vector is let's wait for AGI. But the other vector is we're all here working now. And this tool has productivity gains. There are things we can do better with it. Let's stack. And that's why agents and tools exist. Because I take the base technology, I stack on top, and now I'm delivering value and productivity gains. And those productivity gains may be outpaced by an AGI, but if the AGI takes 5 years, why lose those 5 years of potential?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you can't sit on the sidelines because it's not as good as everybody thought it was going to be this fast, right? Like you can't just be like, well, it's not that big of a deal, because it is, right? It's a very big deal. So I was talking to
you had a comment about, is GPT-5 worse, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question:
Sure.
Is Windows 11 good?
I don't even remember Windows 11.
Right? Like I had Windows 10, and you made me have Windows 11, and I didn't see it be better.
Right.
Brah. Okay. The other funny part is, by the way, GPT-5, this is the third GPT-5.
Oh, got it. Okay.
The others didn't work well, and so were called 4.1 and 4.5.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
And then 4.1 got updated and patched and picked. Okay, so like they've been trying to get 5 for a little while, and they kept having problems with it. And we're like, don't call it 5.
Yeah, not yet. We're not there yet.
Right. And what 5 does differently that most people don't understand is the original GPT-5, when you prompt it, it's a router. It picks the other models that are in the stable based on your question. And in the very beginning, it was very bad at routing. So that first week, everyone was like, this thing sucks. It's gotten way, way, way better now. And it actually performs really, really decently. I'm a fan of GPT-5 at this moment, but I still prefer Google Gemini Pro 2.5.
Got it. Interesting. Well, you heard it here first. Well, I wanted to talk about kind of the next, call it 2 to 10 years, because I've talked to a gentleman who he's a PhD in machine learning and AI, and we were at a happy hour, so we were just kind of riffing on like what's next, right? And so he was like, I think in 10 years, he kind of went down the utopia route of, there's going to be just everybody's going to have a universal basic income. Money is really not going to be necessary. AI and machines are going to just do everything that we need, from fixing our air conditioning units to, doing everything. Right. And I said, okay, let's assume that is the case 10 years from now. There theoretically will be a lot of pain between now and then, because jobs will be displaced. People will that need the income. We won't have a basic income yet. And so anyway, he was just like, oh yeah, there's going to be a ton of pain in the next, call it 4 to 5, 7 years, but then it'll be great. Like, how do you think about it, over the next couple of years as it relates to the economy, jobs? Because everybody asked me like, hey, Justin, are you seeing a lot of jobs being outsourced or eliminated from AI, and some, but not in droves like people are thinking. But anyway, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, a couple comments, right? The first one is a lot of people are influenced by media, and the media, in order to sell whatever it's selling, either gives you one extreme or the other, either dystopia or utopia, because that's what people want to pay money for popcorn and soda to see, right? Assuming anyone's going to movies. Anyway, I don't know that either one of those are accurate, and I don't know that the data right now doesn't actually predict that for me. What the data says is people are people, companies are companies, jobs are jobs. However, think about it this way. The Industrial Revolution displaced a tremendous number of jobs and increased the amount of new jobs by a significant factor.
Yep.
Simple things like, hey, you used to, run a hansom cab, so you took care of a horse. Suddenly you had an engine and a motor, but that engine and motor probably employed 7 people in order to build the car and maintain the car and all that stuff. So, okay, yes, we lost the horse person, and, maybe they do something else, or maybe they retrain. What I would say to you is, just a simple example, a social media influencer job didn't exist 10 years ago.
Right.
It exists now. What AI-related jobs will exist in the next 18 months that don't exist now? I don't have that answer. You don't have that answer. You would love that answer, so you could be hiring. Like, I get it. But
right.
I fundamentally think that it's not so much a tremendous amount of pain because all these people are fired and instantaneously unemployed and can't feed themselves. I just don't see that dystopia. I see that happening in certain pockets for sure. Somebody's going to lose jobs. I'm not naive, but I also see a lot of opportunity for new jobs. And one of the things that I think people are not paying attention to that I do think is relevant is the questions I like asking are, who's going to do the work and who's going to review the work? Mm. So if today you're a doer, and in some cases we're all doers in some some regard. If today you're a doer, but tomorrow you have agents doing, you become a reviewer, did you lose your job or did you change your job?
Do you need as many reviewers as doers?
Nah. So here's the better question, right? I agree. That's and the answer is no, you don't. You can also build a reviewer agent, but then you need a reviewer to review the reviewer agent. Like,
yeah, unless that reviewer is 100% accurate.
Yeah,
when are we going to get there?
But the problem is we never get there because remember, at the end of the day, mathematically, every single thing an LLM does exists between 0 and 1. Mm. Because it's all based on probability. And it's non-deterministic. And if it's non-deterministic, you'll never get to 100.
Got it.
Mathematically. So there'll always be some sort of a checkpoint. Now, can you have a cascading scale of agents you've built that are more rigorous? And sure, you could just put a person there and make it. Anyway, my point is this. I think we'll absolutely see job loss. I think what we're seeing right now in the market more than anything is mostly what I would refer to as like a freeze. Like, not a lot of people being fired, not a lot of people being hired. It's kind of like stagnant, right? There's not, the waters are calm. One reason for that is people are sort of not understanding what to do administratively, like what's going on with rules and regulations and everything else. So, okay, got it. And then economically, who knows where we are day to day? Is it tariff this? Is it tariff that? We don't know. So all that uncertainty freezes everybody. That's one piece. The other one is AI going to replace these jobs? And when that happens, do we have to do something different? And you see articles and stories right now, but remember, we're in the trough, right? You see articles and stories about, oh, well, this company fired all their people and then they had to hire them back because the AI didn't work.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's only going to happen a few times. The reality is most companies are like, well, let me try it here, see what happens. Okay, this worked. I can get rid of one of the 3 customer service people because I got a bot. Yeah, sure. That was going to happen anyway because software automation is software automation. And,
right.
Right. My particular view is we'll see additional increase in productivity gains, automation and other things that like we were talking about, like agentic, et cetera. We'll see job loss in places for sure. And I think we'll see new jobs and eventually job creation as a result of, and it won't be, hey, I need people to come and write social media content for me because that's language based and the LLM excels at that.
Right.
But it might be, I need someone to review it or whatever. There's a whole bunch of things I can't even name at the moment that we need that are AI driven. And management and supervising may become managing agents.
Yep. Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day about kind of the workforce of the future, and people are going to be managing people and managing agents side by side.
Hybrid, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And how do you? And he was asking me like, what are some skills? And I want to get your take on part of this process. I was like, what are some skills that you are like, if you were in front of the graduating class of high school, like that are going to go to college, like what are you telling them to do in college, or are you telling them not to go to college? And I said, I don't really know what the jobs are going to be. I said, if you're a really good like content writer, probably not the best use of going to college for that because AI can do it already. Yeah. I said there's a few skills that you're probably going to want to know and be good at, and that one of them is communication, both verbally talking to people, but also prompting agents. Because again, the workforce of the future could look like you've got 5 people and 500 agents that you have to manage, all doing very similar things, or to your point, the agents are doers, the 5 people are reviewers, et cetera, et cetera. So just that communication ability, which is getting harder and harder to have as a skill because everybody's, our attention spans are 2 seconds, right? So yeah. I'll flip the question to you. Like, what are you telling people that have kids? I don't know if you have kids or not. I don't have kids, but like, what are you telling people that have kids that are going into later stages of high school or in college, like what to think about, what to do as it relates to jobs and all that?
Yeah, it's a valid question. And I think that it's not given good service by general media often. My response is actually sitting over my shoulder on the little sign that's sitting in the background, which I'll explain in a minute. I'll say this. There's a statistic, I don't remember where it came from, and of course, 90% of all statistics are lies. But it basically said, it was sometime in the early 2010s, I think, in the United States, 60% of the people in the workforce are not working in the field of their degree.
Yeah, I would get
right?
that.
Now, whether or not that's accurate, the point is, I think people should follow their passion and be open to change. And the reason why is no one can predict the future, and it's foolish to try. However, I think you can make some assumptions, right? If you're, if you're an elevator operator and you're in New Britain, Connecticut, and it's, the early 1900s, and they're building a lot of tall buildings in Manhattan, and the Otis Elevator Company comes up, they're from New Britain, Connecticut, by the way, you probably think about doing something else, right? But you have a little warning, right? You can see that coming. And, in this particular case, is an elevator operator a highly skilled job? Not so much. You could pivot and do other things. What I want to get to is follow your passion, get a degree in the thing you're interested in, learn the things you want to learn. But as an employee, you're a lifelong learner or you're a failure.
Yeah.
Right. So you're constantly learning new skills, retraining, whatever the case may be, taking on new stuff. Your supervisor asks you, "Hey, can you do this? I've never done it before. It's okay. We'll help you. We'll let you turn it." Great. And you're not learning that in your classes. You're not learning that with or without a degree. It doesn't matter. I think if you're not that flexible, you're not going to be able to respond to changing economics. Look, I'm 55. When I went to high school, calculators were considered like you can't use them. And they were considered computers, but it was like literally the conversation was, well, you shouldn't rely on the calculator. It's not like you'll be walking around with it in your hand all the time.
Yeah.
If you had any idea what I was walking around with right now, you'd be right, because no one could predict.
Right.
Point being, you got to be flexible. What the sign says is you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending.
I like it.
And my point is simply, go pursue the career that you're interested in, that you're passionate about, that you want to do. And if it turns out that job doesn't exist anymore, pivot. Change the ending.
No, I like it. And we talked a ton about AI, which I knew that we were going to. I want to round this out with a little bit around the business of, okay, let's say we jump on a podcast 12 months from now. We're recording this at the end of August 2025. So we jump on a podcast in August 2026. Like, what are some of the things that you have on your to-do list, like one or two things that you'd love to have done or completed or achieved in the next 12 months that would make that podcast, really, really exciting?
There's a few things that I want to do from a Sinjun perspective. I actually want to try and get an agentic platform delivered that I can offer to clients that gives them a place to go to take advantage of some of the things we were talking about, where we do a lot of the work for them in the platform itself. They just pay a monthly fee as a service, and then they take advantage of workflows, automations, whatever they can, automatic report writers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'd like to see that come to fruition. It would be great if I could do that in the next year, if I have enough opportunity to spend the time on it. I'd also overall, like anybody else, like to continue to grow the business and continue to maintain the success rate and improve it if we can. And I'd like to really work with some fun customers. I don't have a number or a specifics, but I actually have a lot of fun helping people and solving problems. And so, it's just the way my engineer brain has always worked.
Yeah.
So the more people I can talk to, the more folks I can solve problems for and give them value. It gives me personal enjoyment. Next year also is my 30th anniversary, so my wife would like us to do some particular traveling.
Well, there you go. That's probably that should be first on the to-do list, I would say, is make sure that gets scheduled.
It's a thing we definitely want to get to.
Yeah. Well, early congrats on that. That's an
Thanks.
awesome milestone. Well, very cool. It sounds like you've got a lot to work on over the next few months. So, Jeff, really appreciate the time. Really appreciate your insight into this ever growing and interesting world of AI. But as we round out here, I want to round it out with a 3-pack of questions I ask every guest. First question here is, what is an influential book or podcast that you would recommend?
There's a great book called Crossing the Chasm, and it talks a little bit about what we were talking about with respect to, it specifically refers to adoption rate, but it's this idea of getting through that productivity gain, loss and gain, that the disillusionment trough. It's by Jeffrey Moore is the author. It's not actually a very new book. It's been out for a while, but I do think it's pretty instructive.
I've heard of the book. I don't think I've ever read it, but I will have to add it to my to-do list here. The problem is I get a ton of book recommendations on doing the podcast, and so I'm like, oh, that sounds like a great book.
The one thing I've heard helped myself is to find the audiobook and just put it on when I'm exercising or when I'm driving or whatever, and just get through them, right?
Yeah, I definitely. I used to be very, very big into Audible, and then I go in. I have seasons of Audible. Sometimes I'm like, every 10 seconds I'm walking around the house, I'll put on the book and then I just go like days without listening to any books for some reason. So, all right, second question here. What is your favorite thing to do outside of work?
You might notice behind me, I read a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a huge book nerd, and I like physical books. I don't like the Kindle. The only time I use an electronic book is if I'm traveling, and it's a pain in the arse to carry a lot of the physical books with me. I'm an avid reader. I read very fast, and I tend to have pretty decent retention. So this bookshelf set is really sort of my favorite books. There are 4 other bookshelves in the house like this, similarly. One of them is a to-be-read pile, that my wife recalls it, and it's just whenever I need to, I have a library. I go, I find what I'm in the mood for. I have books that I've purchased and are just sitting there waiting to be read. My wife refers to me as less a reader and more of a collector of things I want to read.
Got it. Well, I mean, you're a fast reader, so I imagine you'll get to them at some point.
I do. I will.
Which is great.
She suggested that I need to retire and just have a used bookstore with no customers, just me sitting there reading.
Just you in your basement with a bunch of books all around you. Actually, I should introduce you to my wife's dad. He's got a house. He's got probably, I don't know, thousands of books. He's like a book reseller. They're typically older, like weird books. But you guys would probably nerd out on books and
I would have a blast. I guarantee it.
All right, last question here. What is your favorite vacation spot?
Favorite vacation spot? That's interesting. So it's my answer is not going to be a spot. It's going to be a thing.
Okay.
I'm an avid Formula One fan.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, there's a Formula One track in the background. It is a very specific track, and it's the one I've been to the most. But you have to be a hell of a Formula One fan to be able to pick that track out from that map.
I don't know which one is it?
That's the Austin track.
Okay, it is Austin. Well, that's where I live. I was like, got it.
Yeah, so that's COTA, sorry.
COTA, yep.
And that's the one I've been to the most, but I would go to as many F1 races as I could from a travel perspective, assuming I could pay for all of them, but not all of them are cheap.
It's not an inexpensive sport to follow if you want to go visit.
It is not, although I'll say this, right, having done a couple different things and done it a couple different ways, the best experience my wife and I have ever had, we flew to Austin, went to Walmart, bought some inexpensive throwaway camp chairs, and had just an open ticket to the grounds and no seat. And the reason why that's cool is because I got to walk around the track at different points and experience the different corners, etc., rather than being in one fixed spot with my seat and only seeing the same thing the whole time.
Right.
And it was totally worth it as long as you didn't mind walking around. But we would just pop the camp chairs out and sit for 10 or 15 minutes and check out that corner. And this is kind of cool. Okay, let's go see the heavy braking zone. And I had way more fun doing that, and it was the cheapest way we ever did it.
Nice.
So.
Very cool. Well, Jeff, man, really appreciate it. Like I said, this has been a lot of fun. If people want to learn about you and Sinjun and what you're doing in AI or pick your brain about AI, like what's the best place to connect with you?
Yeah, I think the website, Sinjun.ai, is probably the best one. And there's a contact thing on there, or you can always find me on LinkedIn.
Got it. Awesome. We will add all that stuff in the show notes. So yeah, man, really, really appreciate it. Thanks for being a guest. I really appreciate your time.
Great. It was great to be here. Thanks a lot.
I hope you found at least one actionable insight from this episode of the Growth Capital Podcast, your one-stop shop for insights from private equity leaders, CEOs, and startup entrepreneurs on starting, investing in, and scaling successful businesses, as well as the role having the right talent plays in growing a successful business. It would be greatly appreciated if you would rate and review this podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe and drop us a comment so we can expand the audience of this podcast. Thank you for all your support, and don't forget about upcoming episodes dropping every Tuesday.